Hi and welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to be looking at how to write a project budget on your application forms. So this is a fresh, up-to-date tips video on how to write a budget, something I've talked about lots in the past, but this video will have the most up-to-date information. So do watch this whether you're new to application writing or you're a year or two in, because this is up to date. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for everything to do with community interest companies. If you want more information about setting up a CIC, I've got packages over on my website. I've also got a mentoring service. But even on this YouTube channel, you'll see that I have a new paid membership. So you can join that, and I'm going to be adding various different videos of inside of different application forms and how to write grant fund applications. So I've got loads over there, so do go and buy that. Now, that aside, so let's get into it. So what are the kind of things that you should be putting on a grant budget for an application for your community interest company's project? So this varies from grant funder to grant funder. A lot of them vary a bit on different rules, but this video is basically going to come up with what are the standard things that work across application forms. So number one, let's talk about paying yourself. So this is the main topic that everyone talks about. So as I've said, and there's lots of other videos where you could look at on this channel about paying yourself. So do go and watch those as well. But in summary, I always suggest that you pay yourself as a self-employed person or through your LTD. Don't pay yourself PAYE through your CIC unless you're into like getting massive grants and you've got lots of staff and you're being hired as a full-time position. So unless you're in that position, for most of you, you're applying for small pots here and there, and you're going to be hiring yourself as a freelancer. So what should you be paying yourself? So you're hiring yourself as a freelancer. So really, you should be working to the target of £600 a day. A £600 a day rate is the correct amount for a freelancer, a self-employed project manager. That is the standard amount. That is backed up by pay guidance, and I'm going to put a pay guidance reference in the description of this video. You can quote that in grant application forms to justify why you are charging that amount. So £600 is absolutely the standard rate. That's what you should be doing on the Arts Council, Children in Need, Heritage Lottery, Reaching Communities Lottery, Sports England, all of those. There's one exception. The Community Fund National Lottery don't like to hire people who are like project managers on that kind of money. That particular grant is very, very grassroots, and they really want people to volunteer quite a lot, and they want a lot of, really cheap costs. It's a 20,000 for 2 years, so it's effectively only 10,000 for a year. So you wouldn't have the room in that to be paying yourself 600. So here's what I recommend. You charge 150 for your day rate. You say it's a day rate, but in reality, you just work a couple of hours doing a session. And of course, you'll have a few admin tasks and things alongside it. But use that grant fund as just like a simple basic project that isn't going to be massively time consuming, that isn't going to be particularly difficult, and keep that as just a small project that is like your base first project. So that'll give you a nice chunk, and you can absolutely put a good, 9,000, 8,000, 9,000 a year for yourself in that project. I've done that lots of times. I still do it with people. So you can do that. You can pay yourself that amount out of that project budget, but just make sure you break it down as 150 a day. Okay. You need to break it down as that. Otherwise they'll think, well, it's too much. So that's the only one. But other than that, absolutely, you should be working to £600 a day, because that is what a self-employed project manager should be earning. So next, let's move on to including things like evaluating your projects. So include an evaluation report or evaluation worker. So you've got somebody to do that administration, that social media, and also write as well about the organisational development. So you could call it evaluation and development. So this is where you would basically have a pot of money. So say it's 1,500 in your budget. You put that down. So then you've got some money to pay yourself to do some of that admin task of when you're submitting all your evaluation, but also it could cover stuff like paying a support worker to write your next application. So, because that's about developing your next project. But you wouldn't write it like we're going to be paying a bid writer to write the next one. You wouldn't write it like that. You would call it evaluation and development. That's what you'd call it, because what you're doing at the end of your project, you're evaluating what you've done. That then informs the development of your organization. Your organization has developed during the course of that project. So by making then that evaluation report, you're also kind of making your project plan for the next application. So that's a sneaky way of getting in there some extra funds that will basically mean you get someone to help you write your application next time. So next, there'll be things related to your project budget, like venue cost. Don't put too much down for a venue. Those of you in London, I know it's expensive, but a lot of these grant funders, they won't spend out like thousands and thousands on a venue. So you're going to have to find budget venues. So venue cost, keep it down as much as you can. I'm talking 75 a day, that's kind of level, okay? Next is project materials. Of course, project materials, so you get your stationery, art materials, anything else you're going to need to run your actual sessions. You can also put down some electronics on there. So they will pay for like a printer ink. They will pay for laptops for a project, for you to do the project work on. And again, community fund, not so much, because again, they're keeping things low. They will pay for a laptop, but I'd always write refurbed laptop and try to just get a secondhand one, because they don't like buying new kit. Or hiring like a Mac or something. You could hire one and put the hire cost down. You could even hire your own Mac to your CIC. It's not a sneaky way of getting some money over. But with the larger pots, say you're doing a big heritage, big arts council, you can put on the laptop costs, a Surface Book Pro. You can also put on stuff like a mobile phone with data on it, because you would argue, because what they would say is they won't pay for your running of your internet, but they will pay for a mobile phone with data. And then you run your laptop technically off of that data, you hotspot it. So they will pay for that. And that's great, because then on that phone that you've bought for your project, you can then do your evaluation work, you can do all your recording for social media and everything else. So you're actually using that phone quite a lot. So that's absolutely a justifiable project cost. But don't bother putting a phone in the community fund, because again, that's a cheapo one. But all the others, yes. Then you just want to put other things that are going to cost you money, like accountants' fees. You want to shop around and make sure you get a good one. They generally like 600 or so for accountant a year is general standard. Your insurance, about 150 a year. Your DBS checks, your safeguarding training, first aid training, that includes you, your volunteers, or whoever. So you can absolutely put training down. Now, if you are training your volunteers, you can absolutely put some money down for you to train your volunteers. So say you get lead safeguarding training, then you could train your volunteers and your other staff on the project. So, and then you can charge like 25 a head for that, and then you get to keep that money. Volunteer expenses is another one. Make sure you pay volunteers. They'll kind of expect that and they like to see that. Next one is marketing. So marketing, you could do Facebook ads, social media ads. You could Eventbrite charge as well. So you could put ads in for Eventbrite. You can also, I wouldn't do stuff like radio and newspaper, because that's just old school and it's phenomenally expensive. So don't put that down, because you can often get that kind of exposure for free anyway, because you're a community project. So you can actually do press releases for free anyway. So you don't need that. But I would definitely put a couple of hundred down for Facebook ads. Also, see it as an opportunity to grow your Facebook group, your Facebook page and your Instagram page of followers. So you want to grow these up. So why not put like 1,000 down for ad spends and have that smashing out all year during your project, because it's bringing more people in, and then you can then upsell to those people, because you may have resources or a membership or something like that that you're going to sell. So you absolutely want to grow it. Plus, you want grant funders to come to it and see that you've got a massive following. So it's in your interest to grow it. So absolutely put a good 1,000 down or something for that exposure and for that social media advertising. So the last one is websites and apps. So they will pay for app development and website development, but you're going to have to be competitive. about it, and also you need to justify why you need it, because especially on the National Lottery Community Fund, again the cheapo one, they definitely want you to say why you need it. So why you would say is because people are doing their bookings on there, you've got your events process, you've got your email list on there, so you need it to bring people in, to communicate with them and all of those things. And you might need the app. Here's a reason why you might need the app. Not everyone wants to be on social media. You may be working with vulnerable people, like for instance, women who've experienced domestic abuse or have had stalkers. They can't be on social media. So if you've got your own app, they can safely engage with the community on that app. So you've got your own little safe space for them to engage and work with, so they can join that. So there's a good justifiable reason to having a app developed. Now you can get, I've got an app link in the chat, it's called Sudor, and they have packages from 2,500, so you can put them on there. That's one example. I use Wix quite a bit, and Squarespace is a few different ones like that. Now, one other tip is if you've got something, say you're going to be putting something online, like an online gallery or, for instance, some kind of project resource, and you've said to the grant funder it's going to be long term. For instance, the Heritage Lottery will expect you to keep it there for 5 years, in which case you need to actually put the money in for your website for 5 years. So 5 years amount of your hosting fees need to go into that application if your website is then going to be there for 5 years. So I hope that video was useful, and do hit the like button and do hit the subscribe button if it was. And I actually break all of this down over in my paid membership on this YouTube channel, where I actually look inside application forms and give you loads more information about what you should be writing.